Okay, so I have been, I'm not sure why it's long enough. Would anyone like to help me with this? Any volunteers?
Can I help Carolyn? I mean, a little bit.
Sure.
Jesse, I'll have you.
Yeah, I'm not sure why.
Just keeping it on site.
Just because it has updates, it'll shut down no matter what if you didn't do anything.
It's going to shut down?
Yeah, it'll turn back on. Just give it a second.
Oh goodness. Of course it's going to shut down. Of all days and of all times. Right now. Okay. Well, normally I'm very relaxed talking about this topic because, you know, I am Lakota Sioux. I'm from nearby the Pine Ridge Reservation. But I guess what's got me flustered is this technology that you are all whizzes at. I know you are. So I've been asked to talk to you today about the Oglala Lakota Sioux, an indigenous nation, and the Sioux are one of 500 nations in this country. So you can't lump us all in together as one. We all have different languages and dialects, we all have different customs and practices, rituals, we all do things differently. So again, we're one of 500 nations here in the Americas. Throughout my presentation, my hope is to share with you some of the messages that come out of Pine Ridge from the people living there today through voice and song. So you got to hear Mr. Eaglehawk share his beautiful voice, and that, what you heard, was actually a love song that would have been sung, you know, from a male to a female when they're courting. Okay, I'd like to introduce myself. My Lakota name is Howashdewiyam. And Howashdewiyam means good voice woman. And this was a name that was given to me when I turned 21. And I was newly married, living out here in Pennsylvania. And I went home for one of the visits, and my parents had a ceremony, a naming ceremony, where all their children received their Lakota names. So I kind of compare it to like the Catholic religion. When babies are born and blessed, they get another name. Well, in Lakota culture, we get this name and we work to live up to it throughout the remainder of our lives. So my name was passed down to me from a great-grandmother, and her name was Howashdewiyam. And she was like a teacher or a peacemaker among the people. And my personality was very similar to some of the other elders who knew her and knew me as a young girl. And they also said I used to walk around singing lullabies or Christian songs I would learn at the vacation Bible schools. I was always walking around as a little girl singing these songs. And so that was another reason why they gave this name to me. I'm from the Wakea-Mazatioshbaye, which is the Iron Lightning clan. And every year at the 4th of July, we have a family reunion, which has become a community event. There are about 500 or 600 of us that show up every year. And we have road races, we have wild pony races, we have a softball tournament, horseshoe tournament, and a traditional powwow. And this is a 3-day event, and everyone comes together. And we're all members of the Iron Lightning clan. And I'm from Cheyenne River, as I mentioned before, and it's one of 8 reservations in the state of South Dakota in the northern central part of the state. And the bands that I'm from are the Minikoju and the Chazicho bands. And Chief Bigfoot was from Cheyenne River as well, and he was also Minikoju. We also are from the Ocheti Shakowing, which is the 7 councils or 7 fires. So we're able to take, when we introduce ourselves, we always introduce ourselves as far back as we can go. And that's just a traditional way of introducing yourself, so people know the people that you're from, in terms of your band, your family, your relatives. And they say, oh, you're from the Wakea-Mazatioshbaye? Okay, yeah, we know who you are. So how I ended up back here in Pennsylvania is in 1987, a long time ago. I moved, I met my husband at college, and then he was the adventurous one and went out there, and then I came back to live here in Lancaster, where he was born and raised. We have 3 beautiful children, 2 of which currently attend Millersville University right now. So I'm very proud of that, very proud mom. And my niece Leanna over here, and her Lakota name is Iya Pahawiya, and that means Rocky Mountain Woman. She inherited her name from my sister. And my sister passed away years ago, and Leanna came and now has joined and is part of our family. I'm on staff in the Educational Foundations Department, and I've worked here at Millersville for many years, and recently finished my cultural anthropology degree while working and raising my family. Being far away from home has kept me close to my culture and my traditional values. I left home during a great time of turmoil when alcoholism had taken over my family. I'm the oldest of 6 children. My mother's the oldest of 10 children. And after I left, one by one, they all went to treatment. And my mother and her sister, my aunt, were the first to go. Then the rest of their 8 siblings followed. And I'm proud to say that my mother and my aunt recently celebrated their 25th year of sobriety. And all of her brothers and sisters have stayed in recovery as well. And this has been quite a feat because living on the reservation, alcoholism continues to prevail. So to be sober, and what I attribute her sobriety to is going back to the traditional Lakota ways of living. Because when you're drugging and you're drinking, that is living in the unnatural world. That is unnatural, that goes against all of our Lakota values. Because we're a people where we take care of each other, we're always looking out for each other. In 2001, I took faculty, staff, and Millersville students back to the reservation, Cheyenne River and Pine Ridge. And in fact, I have a friend here, Peg Neal, who's retired from Millersville University, who went on the trip. And we visited the massacre site at Wounded Knee in South Dakota. And I was deeply impacted. This massacre site is a mass grave where nearly 300 people, Lakota people, lost their lives, most of them women and children. And we learned that this massacre at Wounded Knee took place on December 15, 1890. U.S. Indian policemen arrested Sitting Bull in an effort to quell the Messiah craze of the native ceremonies. The arrest turned unintentionally violent in ways that retrospectively seem inevitable. Sitting Bull was killed. He's one of the famous chiefs of the Oglala Nation, along with 7 of his supporters and 6 policemen. Fearing a backlash, another leader, Sitanka, who was Bigfoot, who's Minikoshu from my reservation, fled south with his band under cover of night to seek asylum with Red Cloud, Chief Red Cloud on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Nearly 2 weeks later, in the morning of December 28, 1890, the U.S. 7th Cavalry Unit found Bigfoot's band at Porcupine Creek and escorted them to Wounded Knee. The following morning, the cavalry attempted to disarm the Indians. What happened next isn't entirely clear. It is said that a medicine man, Yellowbird, began to perform a dance, throwing handfuls of dirt in the air, and then a scuffle ensued and a gun was discharged, and the army opened fire. By the time the smoke cleared, Chief Bigfoot and at least 145 members of his band had been killed, and the Oglala argued that many more died, including 84 men and women, 44 women, and 18 children. A reported 25 U.S. soldiers also died, some possibly as the result of friendly fire. It was a great tragedy in Lakota Sioux history and was the end of the Sioux-Indian Wars. The wars took place in 1854 to 1890. Let me see if I can get this thing back on. Okay. So while that is loading up, I'll just continue and share with you some of the statistics that were. Will it go back to my web pages that I originally had open?
You can try to restore the tabs and use Firefox, but I'm not sure.
Oh, there they're popping up. Okay. I'll continue with the statistics that were presented in the article, the National Geographic article. Today, the annual per capita income on the Pine Ridge Reservation is $9,728. So this is the annual per capita. Can you imagine Well, maybe you can as college students. But I can't, I certainly can't imagine having to live off of only $9,000 a year. And then for the rest of the United States, the average per capita income is